Hello everyone, welcome back. I hope everybody's having a great day. Alright guys, kick back and relax. I got about an hour and a half talk show with a good friend of mine. His name's Brett Colin Sheppard. And we're going to be talking about things about the moon you may not know about. Everything from what were the astronauts up there for? Is there alien life, or was there alien life on the moon? Are we ourselves on the moon? Anyway guys, let's jump right into it and get started. What's going on, everyone? Sorry about not making a video right away. I was busy with Father's Day and all that other good stuff, and I hope everybody had themselves a good Father's Day, and all the moms that are both mom and dad. I hope you guys all had a good day. Anyway, guys, got an interesting topic. I know you guys love everything about the moon, man. I'm the same way. It's the closest celestial body to Earth, and everybody's always been intrigued by it and like its mysteries and stuff like that. So we're gonna get into that today. We're gonna have a good talk. I got a good friend of mine here, Brett Colin Sheppard. We met back in, what was it? It was like 2 years ago. The Mars conference, wasn't it? Was it 2 years ago, Brett?
Yeah.
I think it was like 2 years ago down in Louisiana and stuff like that. Met him personally, good people. I'm glad I got to know you personally, because a lot of times we can talk on here and it's not the same, you know. But anyway, so we got an interesting chat for you guys today. But if you can, Brett, I know a lot of my subscribers probably don't know you. Probably a lot of them do. If you can give like a quick bio about yourself, just to let everybody know, who Brett is.
Okay. Well, I was born and raised in Gary, Indiana. I was part of a program, out of Stanford Research Institute. From a very early age, I had some trauma that I won't go into, but this led to some out-of-body experiences and some NDs and that sort of thing. And I was shown things by interdimensionals or extraterrestrials, however you want to perceive that. Later, when I was 15 years old, a lady from Stanford Research Institute came to my art class, and it was at the end of the day, and she proceeded to show me a bunch of moon and Mars images, but at the time she told me that they were by various artists. So I was looking at these and she asked me how I felt about them and so on, and I didn't think anything much of it. I had done a lot of nature research as a kid, and later on I started researching about space, which if you go to any library, the section is not very big about space. And so I was kind of intrigued by that dynamic. Why don't we know more about space? Why do I know more about space than the library does?
Mm-hmm.
So later on, when I was about 38 years old, I started looking at the lunar and Mars images, and I noticed after forming a Facebook group when I was 45 years old that these embedded images that I have, that I remember, I have a photographic memory, so I remembered every image that they showed me from Stanford Research Institute when I was 15 years old, and every single one of these was embedded in lunar orbiter images. And that sort of was kicked off and triggered by Amy Evans, who showed me a Mars image of the Arum Chaos region, and she said, I want you to look very closely at this image. So I did, and I remembered that it was a trigger image. It was the first one she showed me back in 1982. Not Amy, but the Zamina Zarita was her name. I remember it because my art teacher made fun of her name and called her Noxzema. And yeah, I know. And the thing is the burden of having a photographic memory is that you have no sense of time. So the chronology of events isn't really what's coming out, but you sporadically remember exactly what happened at certain times, and when nothing is compartmentalized, everything's right in front. So you don't have to go back and access something or whatever. So you remember everything, and I mean that. So the thing is that these images were shown to me in 1982. Some of them, like the Arum Chaos region image of Mars from the Mars Orbiter camera, as you know, it wasn't even taken yet in 1982. It was taken in 1996.
Right.
So there's a problem, Houston, you know.
Yeah.
There is a time problem there, you know.
Absolutely.
Um, so when exactly did they actually go and take those images? You see what
Right.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
So anyway, I started looking at for these images like crazy because I couldn't believe I was seeing them embedded in these images, these black and white images that are supposed to be of the moon and Mars. And what I'm seeing is artwork that is absolutely fantastic. It's perfect compositions and everything else that are embedded in these images.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what really interested me in doing the lunar research. I wasn't exactly looking for buildings or something like that, but it's refreshing that Bill Tompkins came out later and said that these things I saw literally on the moon, you know, big ships and big buildings that were floating in space. So it told me that these NASA guys or whatever propaganda department in China or where India or whatever do not want us to know what's actually on the moon.
Yeah, I think it's like a basically just to me, and I could be wrong, but to me, every space program, whether it be NASA, ESA, I believe they're all in on it. And I know that sounds kind of funny because people go, "Oh, well, they're all in it like this big secret." Well, I think it is. I mean, I think they're all aware of what's going on.
They're all friends, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're all bed buddies. I mean, you know, let's be honest. I mean, you know, Russia or the Soviet Union back in the day, everybody thinks it was a big challenge. Let's see who's going to go to the moon first. And I had a different theory about that. And, you and I were chatting yesterday, and I've even said it in one of my videos that I believe that it could have been just as simple as two scientists one was from the Soviet Union and one was here from the States, and they just happened to be looking at the moon and said, wow, something's there that don't belong there. And that's what triggered off the great space race, because they wanted to be who's going to be the first one to get up there and analyze what they're seeing.
Right,
now,
but they had no intention of sharing it with the public.
Right, exactly.
Via the Brookings Report in 1960.
Well, that's the thing too. I mean, I get a lot of people saying, well, why wouldn't they just divulge this? Why not? I mean, these guys could be making so much money from the public, so on and so forth. They said, have you read the Brookings Report, which basically says in a nutshell how the public would react if they found out there was alien life or any extraterrestrials and stuff like that. And so I often will give these people a link, not to shut them up, but just to let them research. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I prefer they did that and did their own research. And I've always said that. I've always done that in my videos. I'd prefer, you can listen to what I'm saying in the video. You don't have to take it as biblical. But what I'm saying is, if it triggers them off to say, hey, I want to go do some research about this, and I mean, maybe Chris is wrong, maybe he's right. I want to do my own research, and that's what my payoff is. That's what it comes down to.
A lot of guys were hired after the Brookings Report to subdue any public consciousness of what could be out in space. One of them was Philip Klass. They evolved later in the Robertson panel. You had Carl Sagan.
Right.
You had Dr. Thornton Page.
Yep.
And these guys, their whole job was to debunk UFOs and bases on the moon or whatever out in space.
Right.
So that is quite the evolution. So now they've employed people from the Department of the DIA, the Department of Intelligence. I forget the acronym, but anyway, one of the three-letter acronym guys.
Right.
And these guys, Defense Intelligence Administration, or
right. Okay.
That one. But anyway, these guys were hired and set up an organization called CISCOP, to where they actually made up the theory of false memory syndrome to not only attack their to get their pedophile friends off when they're accused of it in court, but also to say that the abductee or somebody that was abducted by aliens or saw a UFO could be easily dismissed as having a false memory.
Right.
So it has taken quite the advancement since then, and it's all to cover up what's actually out there, and not only that, but to protect their economic system.
Right. Well, now here's one of the biggest questions a lot of people want to know, and I know a lot of people are on the fence. You've heard this yourself. I'm sure I've heard it a million times. Did we in fact go to the moon?
Yes, and a couple of different ways, since then. But the first way was using our primitive technology because we had to show the world that that's what we did. And this wasn't without any extraterrestrial help or some super science type of stuff that was assisting them to get there. They did not expect them to make it to the moon. They expected the astronauts to die, and they were treated as test subjects and space monkeys, basically. They thought that they would even blow up, on the platform. They didn't expect them to even get out in space, but they did. And so since they did, and these guys were quite heroic because they already knew that these things, they were riding in a lemon. Gus Grissom knew it. Everybody knew it. They actually killed Gus Grissom.
Right.
Anyway, that's what his son says. He believes that they killed him because he was going to go public with this faulty technology. And the reason why what he was going to go public with is that they didn't really even need rockets because they had reverse gravitics and neutral buoyancy even back then. This was, after Roswell in 1947, they already had some very specialized science. So when they finally, started this propaganda campaign with JFK to go to the moon in this decade or whatever, so they did that, and they got guys up in space. Well, according to Bill Tompkins, there were craft that assisted them to get all the way to the moon and back. And when they got to the moon, they were all lined up on the crater, I believe, giving them some kind of atmosphere. I believe that. Or some kind of force field, that sort of thing.
Or they could have just been keeping an eye on him, because it's like we talked already, and the funny thing about it is, I mean, how do we know? It's kind of like you're sitting home, and let's say you're a child or a grandchild, and all of a sudden they just start to walk. You're intrigued by
right.
Oh wow, look at the little one starting to walk. Well, maybe they're looking at us the same way. Like, look at these primitive people, come with their little craft, making it over to the moon, and they're just sitting there, just watching everything that we do. In fact, I think one of the astronauts said, "Hey, they're under us." Like somehow they knew that the thing went into a crater and underneath their feet. I don't know, but to me, I think they were just watching everything we were doing, and they might have even been helping us along, like you said.
Yeah, I mean that is the information that I've gotten from Bill Tompkins, who was very high up in TRW. He was one of the ones that built the S-band antenna that they used to actually transmit film, video signals like VHF and all that back to Earth, and he was literally sitting there with the guys watching what was actually happening on the moon while they were playing a propaganda tape for the public at Mission Control.
Yeah, so which segues into the next one there. Do were all of these photos faked?
None of them are actually, well, I would say all of the lander images are screwy. I think they were partially done in a studio because, they weren't able to, I think the topography is real, but I think the lander and everything else is kind of staged and fake. It's too perfect.
Well, I said the same thing.
In the background, it's all painted black. And the actual photos were not black in the background. You could actually see stuff in the like stars and that, and and some debris flying around.
And that's the thing too. I mean, and that's not counting all the debris you find on the film itself, because we know that was just film. But the funny thing about it is, I've said that before. Like these mountains in the back, these ridges or whatever, you can see that they're CGI'd. But in fact, I got a video coming out that's going to show where it looks like they literally made an outline of said mountain or hill, and then what they do is they blotted. It looks like they took a tool to kind of like blotch it in, and you can see it all the way up around where they actually made this outline. And I'm going, okay, wait a minute. Why would they fake the background? Well, there's a reason for it. They're trying to block something that's clearly sitting right there. And, and I got to agree with you, because there's a lot of times it looks like that lander's been superimposed.
Well, they're doing it is why I think they're doing it. One of our friends who's associated with Richard Hoagland actually not worked for, but his alma mater was Arizona State University, which was a contractor for NASA to actually take the images and texture them and make them look better and look more like the surface of the moon. Because in actuality, our actual images are very pixelated and crappy. So for whatever reason, they actually took that opportunity not only to make the images look better, but to take whatever they don't want the public to see out of the images.
Well, they made no bones about it either. They actually have said that they, they actually paint over them, or they make it aesthetically better.
Yes, yeah,
more
and that
pleasing to the eye.
That starts way before they even give them to the university, which they consider public already.
Right.
So that this is already being contracted and done outside the public eye. During debriefing, when they've got airbrush artists, and now they use computer science. Because they're the ones that invented it for that purpose. Blend and Phong technology, filters, and all of that. So they decided a long time ago during the Ranger missions, that they were going to make the images digital, so that they could be easily tampered with. If they're in a digital magnetic format, they can actually redigitize the image and put it back on a magnetic tape before they even put it out to a university or to the public.
Right.
Now
what were they doing?
One of the
I'm sorry. What were they doing back in the time? I know they were using like a bit of like a acetate and stuff like that. How do they actually do that? Just so the
I talked to Donna Hare, who was actually there during the Apollo years, and she was working in the photographic department in Building 38, and she said that these, and also Ken Johnston Sr. also saw them, stripping out stuff off of negatives and that sort of thing. So what she said they did was they put a piece of acetate either over the posi negative film or whatever, and they would blend in, make it look like the background, anything that they didn't want the public to see. That included the background of all of the lander images. They were all painted black,
right,
like a matte black. And then this was invented by Chesley Bonestell from Disney, where they would layer the background and then the middle ground and foreground and put them together in one single shot. So then they would refilm it and then put it either back on the magnetic strip or have a new negative, basically.
So it would basically be overlaid, right, onto the original?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, and it's like I said, I was saying this to my subs there, because it's almost like a form of layering, kind of like what the rover does now. The only difference is they image stack, and NASA claims that they'll take a photo of one particular area, and they'll do it because they want the whole picture, meaning the background as well as the foreground, to be in focus. Now, that does make sense when it comes to photography, right? But to me, it gives them the ability, if they take more than one shot of that same area, let's say the exact same area, they don't move, snap, 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 they take a few pictures, maybe the second or third one is almost transparent, and then they can put like an overlay, do everything they want to that, and then drop it on top of the original.
Yeah, there's many techniques and ways to do that in a photo lab.
Right.
And that really actually was done, and Donna Hare, attests to that before Congress and everybody else, as we saw. And, these things are being done. And it's because they do not want us to know what's on the moon or in space.
Yeah, I mean, I get some people saying, because they believe it's, if you find something in the photo, they go, well, it must be, I don't know if they're just trying to be funny or what they are, but they'll say things like, well, that's just something they left on the set. When they messed up and, they left it in there, so they were trying to take it out. I said, well, hold on. It's the same thing with the Martian photos. And they'll say, well, it's clearly a photo from Earth if you found something that intelligently made. I said, well, no, hold on. I said, first of all, NASA, JPL, and all these other space agencies, they're not dummies. They're very smart people. And it's like me. I mean, I'm not even probably up to their standard as far as knowledgeability, but let me tell you something. If I was going to make a set, okay, and I was going to make it pristine, because it's got to be believable, right? And I'm talking about not just to the regular public. I'm talking about to, we're talking about to geologists. We're talking about the scientists. It's got to be believable. So I would do everything I could to make sure that there's nothing of ours, meaning something, let's say a camera prop or some goofy thing on the set. And then what would be the point of me going, okay, I left it there by accident, or I left it there, let me go ahead and just manipulate it out or obfuscate it out. That wouldn't make any sense. Why don't you just do it right the first time, and you'll never have to worry about that.
Well, they weren't very good at it back in the 60s, you know. The technology just wasn't there, so they had to continue to develop manipulation techniques, you know.
Right.
And one of the things that I find fascinating about that level of manipulation with the images is the lack of scientific analysis there is out there. Mm-hmm. We have people saying that they didn't go to the moon because of images that are considered artwork by NASA.
Right.
You know, we can forget about that notion. We can't judge whether they went to the moon based on any images at all. You know, first of all, and you know the thing is they're analyzing the images and saying the shadows are crooked, whatever. You know, and the thing is the images are so heavily tampered with. How can you say that they didn't go to the moon because of an image?
Right. Well, the thing is,
so that's the thing.
Well, see, I've noticed too, and I know you've probably seen this a million times yourself, but if you look at some of the lunar surface, let's say you're seeing something close to either astronaut or the lander or whatever, when you look at it and you go, wow, that shadow's out of place compared to the others, look at it closely. It's not a shadow.
Right.
It's an actually marker. They literally blotched out something that was sitting on the ground, and they made it look like it was a shadow, and then people are going, why does that shadow look off compared to the others? Now, there are other reasons, of course, depending on how big an item is, you know, on there, and it'll kind of have a weird shadow to it, or, you know, how close it is to the ground. It'll show a little slightly different shadow position, so on and so forth. And you can also have, as bright as the surface of the moon is, it can actually have like a secondary shadow, because it's just the sunlight reflecting off the ground, too.
Right, correct. And I did some analysis. I did all kinds of analysis with these images. I went all the way around the monkey, as you know, and I took an actual picture of the NASA building, and I shrunk it down to actual size of what size it would look like on the moon's surface. Mm-hmm. And you could barely see it, okay? Because 60 miles up above the surface, you can barely see things like that.
Right.
And the thing is that they're easy to smudge out, they're easy to airbrush out. There isn't very much on the moon that's that enormous that can even be seen with a telescope or something like that. And when you see it through its telescope, you can maybe get to a magnification of 10 to 100, but it's still only going to get you, you know, more than 60 miles off the surface. So you're not going to see nothing from a telescope from Earth, okay?
Yeah. Well, some people believe you can do that, but that's not true.
Yeah, but I hope they can. I really do. I hope that somebody comes up with some superb technology and they are actually able to see these things. But you can't, even with the ginormous telescopes that we have on Earth, you still can't see it.
Well, the good thing about it,
close to the surface.
Well, exactly, and you know, and you have to be in like a pristine spot, meaning like if you're in like somewhere on the equatorial region away from populations and stuff like that, where you don't have all kinds of, you know, fog and distortion, because you get a lot of atmospheric distortion to begin with, right? So you're going to have that right off the bat, but then you know, add in pollution in the upper levels of the atmosphere, so on and so forth. It's this is the reason why you got a lot of these observatories are up on mountains. It's to get away from the thinner atmosphere, get away from all that fog and smog and anything that can hinder any kind of viewing of the moon. So it would make sense to me. You know,
on our side of the moon, my advice to people that have any technology that's close to that is to look for satellite dishes that I know we have up there through the NSA and the Navy.
Right.
Bases, things flying around on our side. I'm not talking about the far side. The far side is a intergalactic alien community, as far as what I've heard, and they do experiments in the hollow parts of the moon.
Now that's interesting because I think you were saying something about that. I don't know if you were like sitting down talking with a few folks about that, and what do they actually tell you? That's what they're pretty much telling you, or do they tell you
That's
more
exactly what they're telling me. They said that's good job. That's really not a secret
to
us, and even people that say stuff like that are deemed crazy, by the public or mainstream media.
Oh yeah.
So that's they rely on that.
Well, here's the thing too. I even said that. I said, I think a lot of these like NASA, ESA, they're kind of doing this slow drip kind of thing. So let's say like a person like me doing the video. There's a lot of people going to say, wow, that's pretty interesting stuff. And I do believe that too. And then there's going to be people out there going to be like, oh, he's a complete quack. You know what I mean? You don't know what the hell he's talking about. So, and that's fine. Because like I said, I encourage people to do their own research anyway. Like I said.
Well, yeah. There's all kinds of propaganda in movies and that.
Oh yeah, I mean, and that's true. I mean, you're gonna find this, but if some guy was to walk up to you, and I think you mentioned this yourself, some guy says, hey, by the way, and let's say he's on the up and up, and I mean he's in the inside, and he says, listen, Brett, you don't understand, man. They literally have this craft that goes back and forth to the moon on the daily. And if you and he doesn't care that you spread it around because they're gonna say half the people are gonna think he's goofy anyway. They're gonna think you're nuts. And in fact, you could be getting the real information. And how do you vet it?
I believe I am getting real information.
And that's exactly
right. What they say.
Right. And it's like I say in my videos all the time. It's like, unfortunately, me personally, when I see these things on here on the moon or whether it be on Mars, I said, listen, I can't vet this stuff. I can't. There's no way I can walk over there and pick this stuff up and say, yep, I was right, or nope, I was totally off base. There's no way I can do that.
We can't look for proof in images, that NASA considers artwork. We just can't.
Right.
We can't look for proof anyway because proof is an experiencer-based thing. The only knowing can come from you experiencing that yourself.
Right.
And the way they talk about Antarctica and the moon, places that most of us cannot go.
Mm-hmm.
We are completely dependent on what they say about it.
Pretty much.
And they're not telling us the truth, obviously.
No.
I know a guy also that lives here in Silver, and he works in Antarctica. He brings them food and all of that. And he said, yeah, there was a thing on YouTube about some kind of secret entrance, into the underground, 100 miles down or whatever, below the ice. And he said that was some kind of alien entrance and all of this stuff. And he goes, yeah, that was kind of all a bunch of propaganda and it wasn't true. And then he winked at me.
It's not true. Remember that wink, wink.
Right. Well, so, there are things that they slip out. They tell you things in almost a cartoon narrative.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it's kind of like the CEO of NASA when he's talking about, NASA may support life and gave it that big wink.
Right.
So, I mean, you could take it whatever way you want. Some people are like, well, he's just blinking his eyes. What, one at a time? I mean, yeah, it's possible, of course, but sometimes people, they'll let you know in a kind of, kind of vague way, But like I said, I think they're just using people like anybody who's doing any real research. I think that's what they're doing. I think they're just using us as the pawns to get this information out. Now, whether people take them serious or not, that's a whole different ballgame. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they are in a way using us to do that, but it's not nefarious. They're a lot of the people that are on the inside are quite sick of people not knowing about it. They're sick of carrying the secrets that they have to carry on a daily basis.
Right.
And they really do kind of want people to know about it, but they don't want people to actually know about it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, well, it's not going to come from them. That's basically what they're saying. It's not going to come from us, but we're going to leave to me, it's almost like leaving breadcrumbs. I mean, I've seen things in some of these photos, whether it be moon, Mars, doesn't matter. And I'll be damned if I don't find something. I'm going, now why the hell? You can see where they've manipulated stuff and obfuscated some things out of the photo. Why the hell would they leave that one thing in there? It's almost like A, they screwed up, meaning they didn't see it, went over it quickly, or B, it's like I said, anybody who wants to find this stuff is going to find it.
Yeah, they didn't screw it up. Yeah, they did it quite on purpose, like that one image of Dave Scott, and there's a of course, if you look at the official one, the sky's painted all black. But on the one that Ken has, Ken Johnston Sr., who has kept an Apollo archive, a personal archive of images that are actually from the 60s and were a done deal. And in other words, they were made into an emulsion image from a negative. So that's a done deal. Mm-hmm. And that's actually more valuable than the tampered negative. Right. So so I'm looking at this image or whatever, and it's an Apollo 15 image of Dave Scott on the surface flinging his dirt or whatever sample, and in the background there's what looks like some kind of space station or UFO. And if you look up close on the pixel level, it's got the typical Apollo 15 pixels on the actual craft and all of that. And all the way around it is matte black. Mm-hmm. So, yes, they left that on purpose.
Yeah, I've done one recently about that. It looks like some kind of weird colored craft in the air. And yet, you could see the pixelation around this item, but everything else around it was completely like a matte black.
Exactly.
Completely taken out. Now, I've said this before, and for anybody who doesn't know, Bret is the one responsible for getting all of these originals, I believe to be originals, that Ken Johnston has saved over the years. And if you can, Bret, tell a quick story how you did that, how you guys come to that decision.
Well, Ken needed help, because he was getting on in years and such, and he wanted to get his autobiography out and some help with his archive to get that public. And so believe me, at first I was pretty stunned and freaked out that even existed, but he started sending me all these images, and I actually went to his home in Belen, New Mexico, where he helped us, get out of a rough situation in Texas, and we moved down there and decided to help him. And I went to his house and I actually saw the images themselves. So I was like, that's very interesting, because these are actually on emulsion. They're 8x10s from the 60s. That is incredible. So basically I helped him. He had them all scanned, but they were like way too big and for no reason. He scanned them at a huge DPI, which actually puts image information that's not there. Mm-hmm. And so I scanned them at a regular 300 DPI, about 3,000 pixels, so that they were as big as the regular NASA image. Right. And I put those on. What the difference also is that he has all the image numbers on the emulsion of the image. Right, which I find is really nice. That's awesome. Yeah. So I put those on archive.org under Ken Johnston Sr. So anyone can look all of those up. Well, you beat me to the punch. I was going to have you say, just tell them what the URL or the site is, because I think people need to see those. I mean, you can, a lot of people will argue. It's like, well, how can you make heads or tails out of these photos? They're from NASA. It's like, well, no, hold on. If you get the ones that weren't copied and copied and copied and copied, and you get right to the originals and the less screwed with photos, you'll find there's a lot more stuff in these photos than what they're letting on. I mean, in fact, we went back and forth, me and our mutual friend. We know who our mutual friend is, right? Right. I'm actually glad I forgot his name. Anyway, so you've got... I'm not saying his name either, yeah. Yeah, it's not that it's worth it, but went back and forth. He's like, well, you don't understand. Here's the original photo. No, it's not. It's a milky, it's washed out, it's a piece of garbage photo that you hand in the public. And I showed the one from Ken's collection, totally different, meaning it had more contrast, more depth. It wasn't washed out. Right. That's the one that, I think it's one of Ken's favorites, where it showed to me, it looked like some large craft or structure way in the background, and where he had gone over it, and I think, was it you and him, or was it somebody else that had gone over the ones that were closer? Yeah, someone else. And I was going to say also people can go to kenjohnstonmedia.net
Right.
and learn about Ken's story. But onto that, them showing us images or whatever, I honestly believe that these guys from the universities think that those are the original images, the ones with the anomalies taken out and everything
Right.
else, because
Right.
they were taken out of the magnetic strip before they even came to the college.
Yep.
So, I'm not going to bash them too hard about that, but what I do criticize them about is, making the pictures look pretty and adding textures that aren't there on the
Mm-hmm.
new ones. I don't understand that. And some of them are complete CGI.
Oh, I know. I've seen some of them that
And,
look. I mean, they almost look like
and
somebody's.
yeah,
You look at the photos; they look like mashed potatoes.
just to prove it, you would think that the astronaut would be credited for the image or something, right?
Yeah.
Or the craft.
Yep.
But if you look down at the image credit, it'll be somebody's name that's from the university,
Right.
that actually was the major image tamperer of that particular image.
Well, believe it or not, they actually have some that are actually doing the ones for the Martian photos. There was a site that a
Yeah,
buddy of mine,
yeah.
Pete, gave me. He goes by Space Cadet. He's doing videos there. He's been doing a lot of music because he's a musician. But he actually showed there was a site where they literally had like a chat section. But these guys were all like, "Yeah, I decided to put Mount Sharp in the background of this one today." I'm thinking to myself, "What the hell?" So when I first saw that, I was like, "You're kidding me! What do you mean you decided to put that there?" Doesn't that come into photo? So to me, and
Right.
like I said, everywhere that Don Rover goes, it just happens to be most of the time that mountain is right there in the photo, and people will say, "Well, of course it is. It's huge." It's not about that. I've seen it where on day 14, Sol 14.
You're talking about like, okay, I remember which one. Yeah.
Yeah, they had like Sol 14. You could see the distance, and of course, there's no way to measure it just by looking at it. But you could see the distance. You go, okay, I see it. But then you can go to like I forget what it was, like Sol, and I compared this. It was like a little over 100, I think it was. And the funny thing about it is, it didn't look any closer. It's like, wait a minute, the rover only had to go from where it was landed to about a mile and a half to the very base of Mount Sharp. And I'm saying,
Yeah.
okay, the whole thing is about 10 miles this thing's supposed to drive. And you're telling me that this mountain hasn't gotten any closer in 100 days? Now, I understand the rover's not doing 100 miles an hour, common sense, right? It's at a snail's crawl. But you'd be lucky if
Right.
it's 1 or 2 miles an hour. But they do have a rabbit button in there. I've seen it on the test site at, I think it's in California, I think, where they can actually hit it. And you can see this thing actually cruise right along. I mean, it was moving pretty good. Now, whether they do that on Mars, I don't believe they do. Only because because it's vibrations and everything else. But
Yeah.
like I said, as far as like the moon goes, I've seen them do the same thing they were doing on the moon. They're now doing to the Martian photos with like Mount Sharp. And
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like,
whatever they're doing to the moon and Mars images or whatever, what the public sees is just not correct.
right,
This is simply not correct.
nope. And
Um,
I've seen things on there, and I'm just going, there's no frickin' way that this is natural. Now, some people will disagree, and that's fine too. But a
Right.
lot of people are on board. Why? Because they've done their own research. I've got
Right.
people almost on the daily telling me, hey, you know what, Chris? I've actually, or they'll ask me, and here's the thing, they'll say, what are you using? I'll say, well, Photoshop, C6, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So they'll go out and do it because they said, I want to look at these things myself. And to me, that's awesome. It's
Right.
not about me. It's about the photos, and people need to analyze it. And the same thing goes on with the moon. Look at these. You can look at them. Most of them are so washed out, you can't see any detail or any kind of depth. Why? Because they
Right.
don't want you to see what's really there.
Yeah, on some of the Mars images, you've got a nice texture of a couple of, flat surface rocks or cracks or something like that, and then everything else around it will be smudgy.
Yep.
And then, then they've got textures in there where you can see smashed cars and smashed planes and NASCARs and all kinds of jazz that is not supposed to be there, but an artist can see that that's some kind of obfuscated smashed car image embedded in the technical official image.
Well, I mean, there's things I've seen where they actually look like some kind of car or something or transport like we
Yeah.
would have here on Earth, right? And I'm saying to
Right.
myself, okay, why is this thing here? Now, to me, it's like there's two ways to go about this. It's either like some people say, well, it's completely fake then, because clearly if it's a car or anything of that sort, it's right here on Earth. I said, or it's actually there. It's like people have this kind of weird block that they believe there's no possible way there could have been humans on Mars. There's no possible way that, there could have been intelligent life. But as it unfolds, first of all, we know that they claimed there was no such thing as water on Mars. There was nothing. Maybe at one point there was, but there isn't anymore. It's simply carbon ice. Then all of a sudden, oh, wait a minute, because you got people like Richard Hoagland has been showing like, what's his name, Skipper, JP Skipper.
Yeah.
He was showing things like lakes, what looked like forests.
Water spouts and all that.
Oh, yeah, the whole nine. So now all of a sudden, and I got a video clip saying this, that the guy, one of the scientists, in fact, he's from the drill. He's a scientist for the drill part of the actual Curiosity rover. And he says, yeah, we actually do have, there's a water cycle in Gale Crater. So wait a minute.
Yeah.
Now you have a water cycle. Where's this water coming from? It's supposed to be nothing there. It's a dry desert planet.
Well,
but that's not true.
Exactly. Even through a telescope, you can see the white poles.
Oh, yeah, you can see those as well as... Well, here's the funny thing. There was an observatory back in the day, and I believe it was from Africa. And, they had taken a photo, I think it was like in 1950s. And you can see green, browns, you can see the blues and, of course, the caps, so on and so forth. And I'm like, what the hell? You know what I mean? But now you look at the photos that NASA gives you, oh, it's red. That's all it is, man. It's just red.
Right.
I don't believe
that.
Well,
when there's a Mars, a collision, with the moon, and it's like right behind the moon, and it's as close as it is to the sun in that yearly cycle, the Arum Chaos region is completely flooded from the melting of the North Pole,
Yeah.
And so that's where you get these big lakes and water and all that. And then there was a scientist that came out from NASA, and he said NASA is completely covering this stuff up. I know there's water there. They completely sabotaged the evidence, that I was looking at, and this was their official NASA scientist saying this.
Right.
So he came out with it first, and then NASA, which is cover your ass type of agency as they are, it started slowly dripping that there could be water, and now there is water.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So that's kind of how they work, yeah.
And this is the reason what got me going back into the moon, because this isn't really a Mars talk. But what got me into the moon is I'm saying, listen, guys, if they're gonna lie right from day one, meaning walking on the moon, anything that's an LRO, meaning lunar reconnaissance orbiter, or just a orbiter itself, it doesn't matter. Here's the thing: if they were lying back then about the moon, what makes you think they won't lie what they're finding on Mars or any other planet for that matter?
Exactly. It's all about hiding what's out in space.
Yeah, that's what it comes out to. So, question: so are we there on the moon now, or do you think it's just remnants of what it might have been at one time, or
they did not spend $70 trillion to give us crappy images? No.
Right.
We are definitely there. We were probably on Mars. We're probably on Venus somehow.
Well, that wouldn't surprise me either. A lot of people say, well, Venus is very harsh and this, that, and the other. It's like, well, not the whole planet.
No, actually, no. And you could actually survive on a space station in Venus if they had the right technology,
Yeah.
Same with the moon. For humans anyway, it's some type of space station. They probably have extraterrestrial help and simulating environments and all of that underneath the moon. And who knows what they have. But what I do know is that what is on the moon is not what we've been shown.
Oh, that's a fact. I mean, I've seen everything from, you can see, this is what's crazy. You can see good quality, high definition photos of the moon right now. And you go, wow, look at the craters. Pure quality. I'm talking like 4K kind of thing, right? And then you look at some of these pieces of crap that NASA put back out in the day. And like I said, it looks like they drew over it and made it looks like giant piles of mashed potatoes on it. I'm going, wait a minute. How do we go from now? People will say, well, you don't understand. It's shitty quality photos back then. No, it was not. Not for that day, it wasn't. And some of those things will rival some of the photos today, as far as maybe not sharpness, but as far as quality. Don't let that kid you, man. Because let me tell you something. I had an old camera back in the day, an old 35 millimeter, and it took some really good pictures. So, and these guys are going to put the creme de la creme camera, I think Caltech is the one that made the one for the rovers for Mars. Now, they're going to come up with the most awesome camera you can find, the best of what they had back in the day, right? And and that's what they're going to take photos of. They're not going to take some crappy camera with them and say, oh, well, just wing it. You know what I mean? They're not going to do that.
Right, exactly. Or one that makes everything in the background fuzzy.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the Hasselblad.
Yeah, exactly.
And, the thing is that there were 4 whistleblowers that came out in completely independent time periods and everything else. There was Ken Johnston Sr., Donna Hare, William Tompkins, Robert Wood, and another 5th one, Vance Davis from the NSA, who worked for or had affiliations with the NSA for years and was over in Germany right along the Berlin Wall, communicating with Russia in different strange means of communication, which I'll get into later. But he said that there are absolutely satellite dishes on the moon that are maintained, and they are relay dishes that come back to Earth at the VLA in New Mexico and other places, Arecibo and that sort of thing. He also says that you wouldn't believe what we have up there. It's a lot more than satellite dishes. But that was the information that was dripped to me at a conference that I went to. I actually had a picture, kind of a crappy picture of the relay dish set along a crater, and he said, "Yep, that's it. That's right on the Terminator."
Mm-hmm.
And he said that is a relay dish. And interesting enough, they're pointed away from Earth.
Huh.
So, in other words, they're collecting information that's coming from space,
right.
from Mars or from other places, and those are sent back. A lot of people think that there's sound being sent back and forth, and that's absolutely not true. At the VLA, they're actually getting graphic communication, images of different bodies in space, and not just that. They're actually getting images that are communication type images from extraterrestrial sources,
Well, I mean, even if, let's just put that aside for a moment. Let's just say, no, they just put it on there just because they want to see, kind of like when we got like SETI and everything else. What would be the best place? It's kind of like, a lot of people have said,
right.
Well, why don't they put a telescope on the moon? Because think about it. There's no kind of interference from the atmosphere. None. It'd be like crystal clear. And it's the same thing that would apply to a radio telescope, wouldn't it? Think about it. There's nothing.
Yes.
There's no atmospheric, kind of static. There's none of that garbage going on. If you could put it on somewhere that would have absolutely no interference or anything to bother the signal coming in, to me that's a win-win, right?
Well, yeah. The best Lagrange. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. French guy who noticed the magnetics around the moon and what keeps it there.
Mm-hmm.
And he said the best place to put a radio telescope or anything like that would be right smack in the middle of Daedalus crater. It's the farthest point on the backside of the moon.
Right, because you want to be turned away from Earth. Right. So you want to get a better view.
there's that. So it's like, okay, we have these non-scientists, and that's what I'm going to call them, because what they fed the public is absolute crap as far as science goes.
Right.
There is no sense of discovery. There is no sense of anything like that. And all they are is an organization that tells you to prove something.
Mm-hmm.
When it wasn't our mission. We didn't go to the moon. NASA didn't go tell the public what they actually did, or they were the propaganda source for what they were actually doing, So, these things are very complex and very involved now, because if you start lying, then you have to tell a bigger and bigger lie as you go along. And none of these lies are have any scientific basis whatsoever. So if you point it back at them and say, I want you to prove this to me, how can you prove that we went to the moon?
Right. And I think we'd have the right to know that anyway, right?
How can you prove that these images are legitimate images of the moon?
Right.
They can't, okay? Because proof does not exist.
Well, it's not that they can't. I think it's because they won't.
Well, no, they can't. You know, I'll tell you why. Is because they've lied so long that people wouldn't believe them anyway.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I think that's a big thing. It's been going on for years now, and it really blew up big time
Yeah.
because, especially when I think it's a psyop kind of move when it came to this flat Earth BS. Because think about it, it contradicts everything that NASA has said.
Well, that's more of a religious sentiment anyway, you know, and it stems from religious during Copernicus era and all that.
True.
So you know, the Galileo and all that.
Right.
And I believe that they actually apologized. They were apologetic to the science of Galileo and all of that back then, after they had put him in a cell for I don't know how many years. But yeah, the thing is that is a religious sentiment. When anyone starts talking about the Earth is flat and then start giving you loyalty tests, you know, if you don't believe that, then you don't love Jesus or something, you know. So you know that's what it is. It's a loyalty test, and it's complete garbage, and there's no scientific basis whatsoever.
Well, yeah, I mean, and like I said, I mean, it's to me now. I've got people saying, "Hey, Chris, what do you think about that whole thing?" Now, there's people that are kind of like religious fundamentalists. In other words, it's like you've had it beaten in your head so much that you're just going to spout it constantly. It doesn't matter if you're right or wrong, right? So you got all these people watching these flat Earth videos. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, people like, you know, some people are on the fence. Hey, Chris, you know, I'm really on the fence. I actually had a couple of people ask me, what do you really think is going on? And I said, listen, it's a bunch of crap. It seems like a psyops move to try to discredit anything to do at NASA, because think about it. You know, you get a couple things saying, okay, some of the photos don't look right from NASA, right? So right off the bat, discredited. Okay, now you've got this flat Earth thing, and they're saying, well, you can't go out into space, and you can't do this, you can't do that. So right off the bat, okay, so there's no way I'm going to believe a thing NASA says, none of it, and because they lie, and you can't prove to me that they have. Well, I mean, and so to me, the people who genuinely want to know, I've done a video back in the, I think it was like a year or two ago, where I said, I think the title of it's "Our Earth is Not Flat," where I actually took we were in a jet and we were like, I forget what it was, like 40,000 feet in the air. And you can actually see the curvature. Now, some people will argue, no, you can't. Well, of course you can. It's not huge, this huge curvature, but you can see it. But nonetheless.
Okay, yeah. I mean, one of my points is, who cares if it's flat or square or rectangle shaped or triangle shaped or like a Merkaba? Who cares? Why do they need us to believe it?
Right.
And so that already sends a red flag. They need me to believe something. It's a loyalty test.
Well, I mean, but it makes you wonder, you know, where it came from to begin with, the whole thing. I mean, it's crazy because, you know, I say to people,
it came from a fundamentalist religious idea.
Right. Well, I mean, but it's like suddenly cropped up again, like just popped out of nowhere, and that may be very well what it is. And to me,
I mean, religious people are very butthurt because they want to think that God has them trapped in a little cubicle, you know, on Earth. Right. And we're not allowed to leave. And this is it. This is the creation that God made. And you know, forget about Mars and Venus and all the other galaxies and trillions of, you know, possibilities of life and, you know, endless, forever type of scenarios out there.
Right.
Let's forget about that and just worry about, you know, what's here on Earth and we can't leave. And this is what was created for us little monkeys that are scurrying around on Earth, making war and doing all kinds of garbage to each other.
Well, yeah, I mean, and you know, I tell people, I said, listen, you know, there's a lot of people who are religious, and they say, I think it was I don't know if it was the King James or what it was, the Bible, but they said, somebody had mentioned to me, said, well, first of all, they said that there was 99 worlds, and that, right. You know, Earth was one of them that was, you know, like the Bible says, you know, like God wasn't happy about what we were doing on the planet, so therefore had the great flood, so on and so forth. Now, whether all that's true, I don't really care. Here's the thing: if you do believe in a you know, like God Himself, then you got to believe that He can make life other places.
Right, you can at least believe that you know, in a creation or something like that. And wouldn't it be inspiring to know that your Creator made something a hell of a lot bigger than Earth?
Exactly, that's exactly right.
You know,
and I've said the same thing. I said, listen, even scientists say now it's like astronomical. There's like out of so many planets and stars and so on and so forth that the odds of other life out there is great. It's actually really good. So if that's true, then why do people have this stumbling block that they just can't visualize anything else being, other life forms, visiting a moon? I said, because I don't know how true it was back in the day, but they did say that some of the ancient civilizations said they remember a time when the moon wasn't even there.
Yeah.
And if that's true, then how did it get here? It had to have been moved here.
I was actually, told by someone who's in communication with an extraterrestrial, and they said that it was an intergalactic. Basically, they decided that they needed something to stabilize the galaxy, and they put the moon. They literally built it in place from pieces of different parts of the galaxy, including Earth.
Can't say that I've heard that one, but.
Right. But I've never heard that either, but hey, it sounds better than dragging it here from Nibiru or something,
Well, it's hard to tell. But to me, it's kind of like...
It is weird. Yeah, it doesn't move.
It's weird. But what kind of... everybody says, well, the moon may be hollow, and that may actually been true because we all know that, during some of these Apollo missions, they had the third stage of the rocket. They would literally slam it into the moon, and they had seismic, machines and seismographs on the moon. It's like, well, wait a minute.
It rained for hours. It vibrated for hours.
Right,
in
days at times. So, so what was your thinking while they were here on Earth? Hey, guys, I can just picture a round table. Everybody's sitting there going, I think it's hollow. What do you guys think? I don't know. So,
exactly, because they're not going to say that in public, but around the table, they'll
they're like
really discuss it as scientists.
They're just sitting there looking for moonquakes? Really? So, I'm thinking to myself, or they believe somehow that it is actually hollow, because why would you bring this stuff there and then just bounce a rocket, explode a rocket off the lunar surface, and only to have it ring for hours or days? And
also, do we really think that's the only experiment they did?
Right, exactly. Come on. These guys, and I keep saying this, these guys weren't up there for rocks. I don't care if they brought back rocks, because that's a cover story, right? So,
well, if you look at Bill Tompkins' drawing of what actually happened, there's these little tiny guys in the middle of the crater looking up at 6 gigantic, enormous craft.
Right.
To me, as unreal as that sounds, that is more believable than they just went up there and there's nothing there.
Right.
Because, like I said, I am inspired, awe-inspired, and believe that our Creator created something besides Earth,
Right.
And I think there's a lot more up there, and it's coming from independent sources that are pretty high-ranking people. You've got, you've got William Tompkins, you've got Donna Hare, who watched them airbrush crap off of the moon's surface. You've got Sergeant Carl Wolf, who saw literally bases on the moon in images that were the real actual images before they scrubbed them out.
Mm-hmm.
And what gets me is that he said scientists from all over the world were looking at these images. They're not going to be looking at the fake ones.
Oh, hell no.
No, not at all.
No.
So, obviously just common sense. Come on, guys, we're not looking at the real moon when we're looking at an official NASA image.
Yeah, I think there's both going on. I think there's a lot of those are real, and a lot of them are garbage, and it's so fabricated it's not even funny.
Right.
And it's like, but and then there's some things you find in there you clearly can see something. Like I said, I got a video coming up. You can actually see the hills in the background, and I think this was, I don't remember if it was Apollo 16 or not. I don't remember off the top of my head now, but what's funny about it is you can see these actual shapes of what look like structures in the hills. It's like, well, wait a minute.
Yeah.
And I don't have to do a thing to them. That's the crazy part.
You may see like the foundation of a structure.
Right.
They may not have airbrushed everything out.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying. I encourage people to keep looking.
Well, and that's what I keep telling people.
The topography is correct. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I keep telling people, look at these photos yourself. You don't have to believe a thing I say. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. What I want you guys to do is analyze these things yourself, and then I tell them what tools to use, like in Photoshop, to actually make it pop if they can, because lines are everything. Even if you don't see what the object is, you can see the shape of it.
Well, that's what Carl Sagan said. He said that back before there was even a mission, he said that he would not be surprised to see rectilinear structures on the far side of the moon.
Which is really bizarre.
Why would he say something like that?
Yeah, why would he even come out with that? Because I mean, if you think about it, the guy seemed like he's in the up and up. You know, I like the guy too. I mean, he was like one of my heroes. You know.
Well, the reason why he wouldn't be surprised is because he saw them.
Right. You know, these guys are seeing this stuff firsthand.
We had missions way before their official announced missions. We were already there.
Well, it's like I've said before. You know, I've said this about the missions to Mars. I've said it about to the moon. I said, listen, what country is going to say, you know what? I know there's nothing but rocks up there. We've got the lunar reconnaissance orbiter there. It's circling. We can see. We got pictures of it. There's nothing but rocks down there, and there's nothing but garbage. But hey, why don't we do this? Why don't we sacrifice some people? Or there's a good chance that these astronauts could be sacrificed. Why don't we just send them up there? Because we need to have them goddamn rocks now. And so, you know, it just makes you wonder. I mean, even the most stupidest person on the planet's got to say, hey, you know what? Wait a minute. Why would they do that? Why would they take a chance of lives, sending these people up there just to fetch a few rocks and stuff like that? It doesn't make any sense to me. Now,
well, the thing is, not to interrupt too hardcore, but the astronauts are complete heroes because, for one thing, they were being not sacrificed to space, whether or not space was going to kill them. They already knew the extraterrestrials were out there, and they put them up there at their mercy.
Right. Yep. And it's like I said, I mean, they're not going to spend, you know, billions of dollars to go up there just to collect rocks. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, you know, when Buzz Aldrin came back, you know, who was masonically on board with everything, even the propaganda, and still is, you know, none of the astronauts were ever able to speak about it, or their families would be killed or something.
Right. That's
a fact.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I've said this in a couple of my videos. I said, listen, guys, why, and I forget which Apollo mission it was. I don't know if it was actually 11 at the time. Maybe you'd know off the top of your head. But it's funny because they had that press conference after they came back, and I said to myself, wait a minute, these guys literally just made the most awesome step on the moon. They did the biggest feat.
Should be smiling.
Not one of them was smiling. They looked like they lost their mom or their dad. They looked like they lost their best friend in the whole planet. They were just all in a somber mood. I'm going, wait a minute.
Wow.
If I was this guy, if I was these astronauts, one of these guys, I'd be like, oh my God, this was such a thrill. This was awesome. It was a lot of work, but man, we got it done. And oh my God, we were just so, you just can't experience it on Earth. There's just no way, because it's just so awe-inspiring to be there where we were at. Instead, yeah, it was all right. Oh, so what'd you find on the moon? Oh, it was okay. Yeah. We found rocks. I'm like, oh my God.
Well, according to William Tompkins, they were not let in on the need to know about the aliens, for one thing. So, you know, when they got to the moon, even on the way to the moon, they started seeing these giant craft and such, you know. Buzz Aldrin hints about it. But he calls it a bogey or something going out there. Literally a UFO is what he said, an unidentified object. But the thing is that it wasn't a little speck of light. These were giant craft that were surrounding them and very ominous.
Mm-hmm.
That had to have aggravated them a little bit, that they weren't let in on the secret. So when they came back, you know, Neil Armstrong completely dropped out of the public eye.
Right.
He didn't. He figured that, you know, since I can't talk about what I really actually saw, I'm not going to say anything at all.
Right.
You know, and that was his thing about it. Buzz Aldrin went another direction and just complied with the regular propaganda like most of the other astronauts.
Yep.
Edgar Mitchell hinted the most at what was actually there.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and I got to literally ask him a couple of questions, and it was nice, and he went into the overview effect and all of that. But I was listening very closely, you know, at what he was saying.
If you listen to some of these,
funny.
Watch some of these videos with Edgar Mitchell, and I'll tell you what, he had, no word of a lie, he said he had some kind of group that they had formed, and what they do is they're talking about physics and all this other stuff, and he's talking about
the Noetic Experiencer Society.
Right.
Noetic Society, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And
scientific thing.
This guy was no dummy.
No, no.
These guys were smart people. They're going to the moon. They wouldn't have picked some goofy saps that wouldn't know what the hell they're doing once they got on the moon. These guys were intelligent people, and I give them props, like you said. I mean, these guys risked their lives to go up there. And like you said, they might have got up there and went, what the hell are these damn things doing? I think they saw structures. I think they saw the crafts. I think they seen all of these things.
They absolutely did.
Yeah.
They absolutely did. And that's what William Tompkins said, that there was banter back and forth from the astronauts in Mission Control confirming the giant buildings that were floating above the surface and everything else that they saw in the lunar orbiter images.
Right.
So they had already known what they were going to find up there. They just wanted it confirmed with the natural eye,
Mm-hmm.
And so it was, and they did confirm those things, and it was a need-to-know basis as they were going toward the backside of the moon.
Yeah, that's what I find really astounding because, these guys, like you said, they probably went up there and they went, we weren't told about this. You know what I mean? Now, usually they'll be briefed on that kind of thing, and I don't think they were. And then when they got back, they said, oh, by the way, you guys are not to say a word, or else you and your family are going to disappear.
Well, guess who I believe? I believe someone like William Tompkins, who knew he was dying and getting that word out.
Right.
Over any of the bullshit images or the propaganda from NASA or NASA scientists in general. I do not believe them.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to these guys, you really got to read between the lines, and I mean badly, because there is a lot of truth that they put out there, and there's a lot of bullshit, and you got to sift through it and find the truth. And like I said, a lot of these photos, like a lot of people would say, well, the photos were actually faked because in case they didn't actually make it to the moon, which does kind of make sense because you're trying to bullshit supposedly bullshit the Soviet Union, right?
Right.
And I don't believe that's true anyway. But on the other side of the token,
no, it's not. They're all on board. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I remember that when they went up to the moon, I think it was back in '69, they went to the moon. And then, supposedly, Soviet Union couldn't get there. So the next best thing was to send the Lunokhod rover, which is basically an 8-wheeled, electric-wheeled, driven, rover. And it had its cameras and everything else. Well, think about it. Why are you trying to get there while the United States is up there? Well, because they're saying, you know what, we want to see what's up there, too, before you guys screw with it and do something with it. Now, don't get me wrong.
There was actually a fight to control the narrative of propaganda.
Right. So, and so don't get me wrong. They were in two different spots. Meaning the Lunokhod was it was like southwest of one of the missions, and so. But that's not the point. If they're seeing things on this moon, they're all going. You know what? I want to see what's up there for myself. I don't give a damn. These guys, maybe from the United States, will hide what they're showing and what they're seeing. They won't say a word to anybody. We want to go up there and see it for ourselves. They were actually smart because why take the chance of sending a person up there and them dying? They've lost astronauts because they went around orbit and Earth and stuff like that, and they've had mishaps and stuff like that, and lost an astronaut or two rather. So they're just going, you know what? Instead of if we can't send a man there, not a problem. Let's send a machine. Either way, as long as it's got a frickin' camera and we can see what's up there for ourselves, we don't give a shit what the United States or any other country's got to say. It don't even have to be the United States. Could have been anybody going up to the moon before them. What difference does it make, right?
Right. As far as the narrative goes, you look back at Project Horizon during the Eisenhower administration,
right?
With General Trudeau and the Army, and this was 1958. Okay, they had already planned on putting a strategic military base up there. If that tells you any about their mentality, so they consider that a strategic base. To fight against whatever extraterrestrial communications. There's actually a fight to keep extraterrestrials from communicating with our normal systems. That's why they went entirely digital instead of analog, because the extraterrestrials were communicating through people's television sets.
Yeah, it's pretty odd shit.
Yeah, it's very odd. And, we would consider that on some perception being a ghost or a spirit or EVP or something like that. But we can't think maybe they're just using that as communication,
Right. I mean, what do you think now? I mean, now that we are actually reaching over to, I mean, to me, I think they've seen something on the moon, many things. They collected
Absolutely.
the information that they needed.
Yeah.
We actually may be there. But now, what do you think about why they want to actually populate Mars? I mean, to me, it's a simple answer, first of all. To me, it just seems like, and I forget what his name is now, but he says the more a civilization expands, it's basically saying it's going to implode on itself at some point because you're going to use up its resources and you're going to kill each other off. And that may be what happened to Mars, the civilization on Mars. Or it was just a natural catastrophe, meaning something that, a foreign body came from space and slammed the planet or whatever the case was.
I don't believe Earth is our first go around either.
No.
I believe we've been other places, other planets. And I think we're kind of a scourge, really, because of this balance thing we have, duality systems that already become corrupt because it's a separation, And if we can't be of one mind on these issues or whatever, we'll never know the meaning of these things.
Right.
We can't rely on the military with their completely limited thinking to do with whatever they're told to tell us what this stuff means. They're materialists. All they can say is, well, there's a building flying around on the surface of the moon. But they still don't know what it means, And the thing is that there's people on Earth, artists and people that are mediums that communicate with extraterrestrials that know exactly what that is and what it means.
Right. I think what's going to happen.
Completely ignored. Yeah.
I think what's going to happen eventually is this planet will meet its demise, whether it's something we do, through a world war or just a catastrophe, something from outer space. And they're just saying, listen, the civilization, we need to live on. It's as simple as that. So
there's a survival continuity mentality.
Right.
Absolutely.
So if you got you've got these people, I believe that we might have started off from Mars. We are the Martians. Even some scientists are starting to say that, as crazy as that may sound. We were the Martians to begin with. We've seen a pending doom. We then jumped over to Earth, or we had places in both Earth and Mars. I mean, think about it. It was just the next planet over, right? So,
right.
And so, exactly. I mean, maybe there was a pending doom. We jumped over here all on Earth, and we lived here. And boom, and of course, Mars is the way it is today, or at least what they're telling the public. It's, desolate shithole planet that's got no life or anything on it, which is a bunch of crap. But now we're trying to go back to it. We're trying to go back to Mars. So,
well, there's some things that happened on Earth 15,000 years ago where that forced 20,000 people at a time to be living underground, like in Cappadocia and that.
Right.
So, that is the natural thing.
Right.
Gingers aren't going to come out of the ground and start bouncing around in the sun going, this feels really good, No, they're going to explode like vampires,
I can just see it now.
They'll get completely burned, or frozen, like Dr. Zhivago running across the tundra,
Yeah, there you go.
This is not Gingerland, okay?
Yeah, exactly. But I strongly believe that's what's going on. And, they talk about, Trump saying now we need a space force and everything else. But here's the funny part.
Right.
Back in the 80s, we had the Star Wars program. So, and at the time, I believe, and this is going way back now, of course, but I remember them saying it was either going to be missiles that were supposed to be mounted on some satellite, or it was going to be lasers or some goofy thing. But it wouldn't surprise me. What's the best way to take out your foe? I mean, you do it right from the sky. I mean, all you got to do is reposition your satellite any way you need to around the world and just boom.
Right.
Now they can just do it with a laser, and just literally, just obliterate whatever target they want.
And I've pinpoint, obliterate them.
Exactly. And they've got EMPs. I've seen that where, I don't know if it was, no, actually, one of them, this was wild. They had it on some kind of military jeep or tank, and it was basically
as a microwave weapon.
Yeah. Right. And it was basically, and they literally had like 2 or 3 guys standing there, and they put this thing on, and they just felt, oh my God, you can literally feel yourself heat up from inside like a microwave oven.
Yeah, I've actually felt that pinpoint heating
Oh yeah.
on my body, you
Yep.
know. So I know they're, they're like normal experimenting on the Americans, you know.
Yeah.
As the American public in general, they've always been experimenting on us.
Well, I think it's safe to say, we can, we the public are pretty much in the dock about a lot of stuff that the military does,
Right.
and this
We
is the reason
shouldn't
why
be,
we got to
though.
find this out for ourselves.
Yeah, we shouldn't be, because it's the meaning that's important, not their materialistic ideals.
Well,
That's the meaning.
exactly. I mean, I look at it this way. It's like I said, and I think I said this to you yesterday when we were just kind of shooting the breeze. I said, listen,
Yeah.
if they were to say tomorrow, oh, by the way, we did actually lie. We've been lying for a while about life other places other than Earth. What are they expecting to happen? Do you think people are just going to lose their minds, or they're just going to go, "Hey, I'm an inquiring mind. I want to know."
First of all, everyone in the world would feel that the world was off of their shoulders, and it would be such a relief that it would inspire them.
Right. Exactly.
You know, so they're going about it wrong. And who is in charge of propaganda in these government offices or something? You know,
Yeah.
don't they know what actually inspires people?
Right. I've even said the same thing. I said, you know what? I said, to me, knowing that there's life other places, that means you're part of something much larger, and you can feel good about yourself. I mean, some people, believe it or not, they just say, well, you only got one life, man, and it's only on this one planet. Who gives a shit what we do? Well, I don't know. If you knew there was much more out there than just us, then you'd go, wow, man, we're part of something like this giant neighborhood kind of thing. Maybe it would make people wake up to the fact.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, maybe it would make people better people. Who knows?
It would. Yeah, people need to feel special. They need to have a sense of purpose.
Right.
You know, this is just common sense.
Yep.
Everyone, you know, that we need to feel stable.
Yep.
You know, but they've destabilized us. They've made us feel like we're complete, utter mind control slaves, or whatever you want to say. They've micro-controlled every aspect of our lives, if you want to look at it that way.
Well,
I don't
with
look
the technology,
at it that way. I see the possibilities.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and they're making people more mindless machines. I mean, the technology is great, meaning, if you got internet, you got your computer, you got all kinds of stuff. Well, you got a plethora of information out there, but then you got the people that are wandering around with their face stuck in their phone all day long. And they're just saying, oh, I got to see what's on Facebook. Now, don't get me wrong, I got a Facebook, I got all of that crap, and it's I don't mind it at all. But the thing is, I'm not on it 24/7. You know what I mean?
Well,
I've got a life outside
I like
that.
I like the sweet fat lady at Walmart that checks me out of all the groceries and everything, and I don't want to go through the do-it-yourself, mechanical line or whatever.
Oh, the self kind of checkout thing.
Yeah, the self-checkouts, the robotics, the computer. You know what? No. I like the lunch lady. I like the lady
interaction.
That's checking me out. Yeah, I like interaction. I like human interaction.
Right.
And I think that's what it's all about. And robotics are fine in some areas, where we really don't need to do that or have a person in danger to do that.
Right.
So that would make sense to me. But not for everyday little micromanaging tasks like, checking your things out at the grocery store.
Well, I think what it comes down to, too, and I've said this to my own kids, I said, you guys don't realize those smartphones are actually dumbing down the population. And they're like, what are you talking about? I said, well, you're keeping your face and your nose stuck in this thing, whether it be your Twitter, your Instagram, your Facebook, whatever it may be. There's nothing wrong with these things. Really, there really isn't. But the problem is it's keeping people so, preoccupied that they're not seeing what's going on in the real world.
Yeah, don't depend on it.
Right.
Do something the old-fashioned way. Go to the library and actually check out a book.
Yeah, something.
Go do something the old-fashioned way, because this thing is telling us what to do. It finishes our sentence for us, and not always correctly. Things like that. We do not need to be micromanaged in that manner. It's a poor use of. What's funny about computers is. It was extraterrestrial technology to begin with from 1947, the transistor and all the computers. And there was a deal made, basically, the extraterrestrials sold this to the military in the guise of that they can control their people with it. But what's funny is that these things, computers and phones and all of that, are also used for extraterrestrials to communicate to individuals.
Mm.
So you know, they kind of snuck one in on that.
Well, yeah, I mean,
using the digital stuff.
Well, I think what it is it's taken all of the personal out of everybody's lives. You know what I mean? Because now they communicate with texting. They communicate. I don't care if they're breaking up with their boyfriend or their girlfriend. They're texting. You know, nobody even knows how to use the phone anymore. It's like, well, go ahead and call your dad or your mom. And it's like, oh, I'll just text them. Oh, no, you know, people need to hear your voice. They need that interaction. And I think it's just a way, you know, for the government to keep everybody just completely preoccupied. You don't know what's going on.
It's also frequency, to be there in person with someone.
Right.
You can feel the vibration. You can feel the emotions. You can feel the connection to somebody.
Right.
On a computer, it takes all of that away.
Now, if you were to find out, this is going back now, if you were to find out that you are part of something much larger, meaning something else in this universe, there's a lot more lives out there, or intelligent life, then your phone would mean squat. Think about it. It would mean squat. You'd be going, I want to know about what's out there. I could give a damn about what's here now. I want to know what's out there. And they'd have so much backing. And I'm not talking about financial, because they could just steal the money anytime they damn want to, so that's not even a big deal. But as far as like, they'd be like, yeah, you know, if you're getting money from Congress or whether you're stealing it, whatever the case is, you have all the money you need, and things would this planet would be it would progress so much further and faster than we are now, but we're being held back.
Well, I'll tell you what, people, you know, if you really want to communicate with the universe in a very natural, biological way, then ask the universe, you know, very sincerely, what is going on and what life is out there. You know, can I have a sign or a signal or a feeling, an emotion, and you will get it.
Yeah.
So if you want to know personally if there are life forms out there, that's how you can know. So there is a knowing. Maybe you don't know all the details, but you'll get a feeling back. You'll get feedback.
Well, here's the thing too. It's like I said, Neil deGrasse Tyson had said, you know, everything out there is carbon based. Okay, so whether you believe in the Big Bang doesn't really matter. But if it was exploded into the atmosphere, I was going to say atmosphere. If it's exploded throughout the universe and beyond, then if everything is carbon based, then you know there's got to be other intelligent beings like us. There has to be, and I'm not saying unequivocally, because I don't know that. I don't have any scientific proof to back that up. But you can almost guarantee it. And he says, and when I look up at the sky, I don't feel small. I feel big.
Right.
And that's profound in itself.
The thing. And also, you know, not to completely negate that sentiment or whatever, but that's based on Earth science. We don't know what forms of life there are out there.
Right.
We don't know if they're synthetic or, you know, whatever. It doesn't have to be carbon.
Yeah.
It really doesn't.
Well, he's just saying because that is one of the chemicals that make us up. And the fact that...
Yeah, that's one that makes us humanoid up, yeah.
Right. So, I mean, if it's scattered throughout, you know, the galaxy, the universe, whatever, then you can bet there's more people. Maybe they may not look like us, and maybe totally different life forms, but some part of them is based on carbon. Then you know that it's not just us around. That's the crazy part. We're part of, like, stardust. We're part of the stars. And that, to me, it makes me feel big. You know what I mean? It's not just like, oh, I'm so scared about what's out there. No, I don't know if that's the way the people believe that. But to me, I just feel like so much larger inside because of, we could be part of something much larger.
Right.
I mean, to me, that just makes sense. We are part of
something much larger. Even if there isn't what we consider a physical life form on other planets or whatever, the planet is alive.
Right.
The rocks are alive.
Yep.
You know.
Well, even if you found...
that's the thing that's ridiculous about that.
I mean, to me, somebody had a couple of people asking me, so Chris, what do you think about the announcement about the what NASA just had come out with about, what was it, organics, ancient organics or fossilized organics or whatever it was? To me, again, drip, 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 drip.
Drip, 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 yeah.
I mean, it's there, man. Listen, if it was organics back in the day, listen, you got a water cycle, you got organics, you got this, you got that. And that could, organics is like, I believe is like, either could be like trees, animals, it could be anything. The way they described it, and they said, well, and of course they always end with this. They always say, well, it doesn't really mean it could have been something like a living creature. I love the way they do that. They just come out with, well, they get you all hyped up and they say, well, and then they shut you down real quick saying, well, that doesn't mean that there was, per se, it's like life. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, come on now. Again, there was water. There was, there's oxygen, closer to the ground. The temperatures are warm enough to melt, ice and stuff like that. And like I said, there was, at one time they said the Curiosity rover had measured 104 degrees in the shade. Come on now. I mean, you got all of these things, throw it all together, and there's so many.
All these things, 3,000 degrees on the surface, and at night it drops down to minus something Celsius. And
well, I mean, as far as Mars goes, I mean, they're kind of, they're like, the average can be around, 35, 75 degrees. Okay, we live on that. There's people that live on that all day long here on this planet Earth, and
they know exactly what's there. They are there.
Of course they do, and I've already said this. I already made this prediction. They're going to come out, believe it or not. It's either going to be the Curiosity rover or the brand new one in 2020. It's going to run across a pond or a lake, and you watch and say, oh, due to the seasonal melting, guess what it ran across? Water. And I almost guarantee
fish and shit,
Yep.
Some kind of weird fish. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even if they don't mention anything about any kind of, sea life or any kind of water or living, living creatures in the water, the thing is they're going to say, oh, look what we stumbled upon. And then all of a sudden, oh, why don't we take a look at that? Oh, wow, we actually found some living organisms in that water. Oh, imagine that.
Well, okay, this is with my advice as far as perception goes. We don't need their opinion.
Right.
We don't.
Nope.
Just feel it. Feel what's out there, because this is a natural universe.
Yep.
And we do have an intergalactic community. We're not looking at dead planets in the sky. There's people on them.
Yeah. You can almost guarantee it. And here's another thing before we go. They said at one time, this was what do they call it? The binary star solar system. Think about it in a minute.
Right.
So if you had another star on the opposite side, you had another sun on the opposite side of our solar system, past Pluto and way past there, then you can almost bet there was life on every single body in the solar system. Period.
Well, yeah, we have a binary system within our galaxy. There's our sun, and then there's Aldebaran, which was a dead sun.
Yep.
Basically.
Well, and the other thing is, too, a lot of people don't realize we have two moons.
Mm-hmm.
We got two moons.
Yeah, we do. We've got Crutane. We've got other bodies that are floating, spiraling around the Earth that actually belonged to the Earth.
Right.
For real.
And that's what I'm saying. I mean, guys, just look this stuff up, research it. You know what I mean? And I always tell people, listen, don't believe a word I say. I mean, I'm here to just inform you guys, and then you guys, come to your own conclusions. That's basically what I would do. Especially if I'm going, well, what they're saying is a little too far-fetched. Look this stuff up. I mean, I don't care if it's about the moon, our own Earth. I mean, again, we're just learning how to walk here. I mean, think about it. How many civilizations have we found in the last, 5-10 years that we never knew existed here on Earth alone? Whether it be in the deepest waters, oceans, or in the Amazon desert, buried in sand.
Right.
Even the pyramids of Giza, they're finding underground tunnels with radar and all this other crap now. We're just learning to walk. I've said this 100 times. We're just learning to walk, and we're just and now we're taking a look around and we're liking what we're seeing, and we want a closer look.
A lot of the mainstream scientists are not even let in on the joke. They're studying at universities and all that, and they're looking at these images from NASA, and they see a moon or what do you call it, an asteroid that's floating around Earth, and they said that's impossible, so they call it a scratch.
Yeah.
Because of their mainstream science tells them that that's not correct or that's impossible, so it must be a scratch.
Yeah, exactly.
Instead of, in the spirit of discovery, saying maybe that's something else.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I hope everybody enjoyed this today. I know I did. Get some information out, and it's good to chat with you, Brett. It's always good to talk to you. It's like I said, I met you in person.
It's always great.
Yeah, I mean, good people and, very knowledgeable. I like to have people on that, have done some research, you know what I'm saying? And you learn something new every day. What's that old term? They said if you don't learn something new every day, then you stop living.
Well, yeah, and also you don't rely on research. Rely on search. You
Yeah.
have your own experiences.
Yeah.
You have primary information that you yourself get from, communicating with the universe or sitting and meditating or whatever you do.
Right.
You're getting an experience as well. Things have happened in most of our lives, especially in the United States, that we cannot ignore. These things are building blocks to the truth.
Absolutely. And that's what it is, too. I mean, you got to, find the truth. But, I tell people because I say do your own research, but make sure it's backed by proper, peer reviews, so on and so forth. You don't want just like I said, when it comes to this flat earth stuff, it's like, come on. I've asked them, I went around with these people many a times, and I said, listen.
Right.
Just show me your own proof. I don't want you to redirect me to a video. Show me your own proof that the world is flat, and I will back you 1,000,000%, and that's a fact. I will do that.
Right.
But nobody's going to furnish that truth.
What about the meaning?
Yeah.
What about the meaning of that?
Yeah. Nobody.
That's a whole other subject.
Nobody's been able to furnish the truth. So.
Yeah, and the other thing is that we cannot know what's out there in space with Earth science.
Right.
That's impossible.
And that's exactly right. Because like you said, and you make a great point. I don't care if the Earth is square, triangle, round.
No,
and people
does that matter? And
I've asked them that. I said, what difference does it make anyway? Well, because they're lying to us. Okay. But what do you think their motive is? Like, ooh, wait a minute. It's flat, but let's just, let's just kid around. Let's screw with these people and just tell them it's round. What do you think, guys?
Yeah,
I mean, what would be their motivation?
Some kind of multi-dimensional crucible that we live in.
Yeah, what would be their motive? I mean, whether let's say it was flat, okay. And, let's say it really is flat. Okay, now what?
Now does that mean now you're going to shove religion down my throat and say that God, this is all God created?
Right. And I'm not going to believe that for a moment.
Exactly. Because that's not the meaning that I would get from it. If I found out that it was flat, I would imagine that there's other flat places out there too.
Right. I mean, that's all you can do. I mean, to me, it's just like, I can't even believe in this day and age we're actually fighting over that, and people are still believing this garbage. I just can't believe it. But that's a whole different story in itself. Yeah.
Every cell, everything that the Earth is made of, there's not one thing that's flat. Not a thing.
No.
And the micro imitates the macro.
Pretty much. But anyway, guys, we're going to end this right here. Good to have you on, Brett. As always, we'll probably have you on again sometime.
Oh, you bet. Yeah.
And I hope everybody enjoyed this. And just stay tuned. I do have some other videos coming up there as well. So everybody have yourself a good day, and we'll see you soon. Later, everyone.
All right.